UFC 327 is here. Jiri Prochazka is taking on Carlos Ulberg for the vacant light heavyweight championship. We are finally here. No more Apex slop. We got a pretty good card. I know we lost Joshua Van versus Tatsuro, but we still have some really great fights. Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa, Curtis Blaydes, Josh Hokit, Dominick Reyes, Johnny Walker, Pitbull and Aaron Pico, Cub Swanson's retirement fight. Gamrot is back. Vicente, Luque, Kelvin, Gastelum. This card is pretty fun. If you're new here, remember to like, comment, subscribe. We do all these breakdowns for every single card. And let's get right into this, starting off with the prelim opener of Charles Radtke versus Francisco Prado. A pretty good one to open up this card. You kind of got a guy in Charles Radtke who's pretty well rounded, has good BJJ. He's more of a striker than a wrestler, I would say. Last guy that he fought, Daniel Frunze, that he subbed, sucks if we're being honest. Radtke will shoot takedowns. He kind of likes to push you up against the fence with a double leg on the feet. He's going to throw a ton of hooks moving forward. You can kind of out-technical him, but he's pretty dangerous with his combos. Then you have Francisco Prado, who I think has a lot of potential. I know he's on a bit of a losing streak, but he's got a smaller reach. He can use his teeps and his calf kicks pretty effectively. He's kind of like built like a little bulldog for the fucking division. Can counter well in the pocket. Doesn't have great power, more of a volume kind of technical sort of a striker, and he can kind of time double legs in there. But the thing that kind of kills Francisco Prado is when he does get you down, he kind of makes these poor decisions on the ground, chases subs when he shouldn't, and it kind of kills him. You know, I kind of trust Carlos Radtke slightly more in this one. I feel he only really loses to legit names in the division, like a Mike Malott or a Carlos Prates. I know I just said legit names and named Mike Malott, but he is ranked, so I mean, I guess I got to say he's legit. I think Prado has more potential. He's still very young. I think it's a close fight, but I'm going to lean Charles Radtke, more power, bigger reach, and I think he avoids the big shots in the pocket, so I'm going to take Charles Radtke by decision in this one. But good fight to start off, and then we move on to a Unk classic, Kelvin Gastelum versus Vicente Luque. And I want to start off by saying this. I don't know how Vicente Luque is still fighting, if we're being honest. I can't believe this fight's happening. I've been trying to get Kelvin Gastelum to fight Esteban for like months. That's the perfect fight, and they don't want to do it. But I'm going to take Kelvin Gastelum here. You know, Kelvin Gastelum's a small middleweight. He is fat, but, you know, height-wise, what is he, 5'9", 5'8"? Southpaw boxer. Nice 1-2, has pretty fast hands. He can grapple and scramble well. You know, he needs to be close enough and to land effectively on you and can kind of get picked apart from the outside, but he does have good power for the division. Tough to trust him with the weight. I mean, this guy could come in weighing, you know, 190 and wouldn't shock me whatsoever. But the thing is, I think he has switched camps. I don't think he's with Cejudo anymore, so he should be avoiding the fucking birria tacos and the fucking empanadas and fucking shit like that. But I think he's going to win this. He's tough, he's durable, he's hard to finish. With Vicente Luque, you got a guy who obviously has power in his hands, has good submission game. But the thing with his submission game is he only really uses his submissions when, like, you initiate the grappling on him and he can kind of reverse and, you know, get into position to set up a sub, or he's knocking you down and then he could jump on like a Doris choke or something. But he's got a nasty left hook, spams uppercuts and overhands, big power when he lands. But defensively, his chin is not there anymore. After that Jeff Neal fight, it's pretty much over for him. His defense isn't good whatsoever. And I love I don't love Kelvin Gastelum, but I like him by TKO in this one. You know, Vicente Luque is kind of wanted, or almost looked like he's wanted out in every single one of his last few fights. Like the Buckley fight, should have quit. He was trying to quit on the stool against Joel Alvarez, and his corner just sent him out there to die. I just think Kelvin Gastelum's going to kind of find that straight left, finish off whatever's left of Vicente Luque's chin, mix in the grappling enough to kind of just control this fight whenever he wants to. Maybe he wins this by like dominant 30-27 decision, but I'm going to take him by second round knockout. Kelvin Gastelum winning this one. Vicente Luque, man, this guy was really one of the more entertaining fighters. I remember when I first started watching, this guy would always put on, you know, fun performances, getting a ton of finishes, could beat you in a variety of different ways. But again, that Jeff Neal fight kind of finished off whatever was left of this, or finished his chin, and he just really hasn't been the same since. But I'll always hold a special place in my heart for Vicente Luque. Moving up the card to MarQuel Mederos versus Chris Padilla. This is another kind of one of those underrated matchups. I think Padilla's kind of started to pick up a little bit of name value in terms of lightweight prospect. A little bit older, he is 30, but this is an underrated fight. I think with Chris Padilla, you kind of got this guy who's jack of all trades. He's pretty good everywhere, not great anywhere, but he fights smart, kind of could attack your weaknesses, like against fucking Ismail Bonfim. He didn't wrestle because he knows Bonfim could wrestle well. He just pressured him up against the cage, and I think he finished him. And if you're elite in one area, you can beat Chris Padilla. But I look at Mederos, and I'm seeing a guy who, moves well on the feet. He's a pretty talented striker. Kind of has this good Jose Aldo-esque takedown defense where he does such a great job getting his back to the fence. And looked pretty sharp. Why the fuck is my hair going like that? Looked pretty sharp in his last fight. But he can kind of get controlled on the ground and doesn't have a ton of power, despite being pretty good technically in terms of his striking. And also has some really nice calf kicks in his bag. But I like Padilla here simply because he's a better grappler. I trust his fight IQ. He can control Mederos up against the fence and just slow him down. I like Chris Padilla here by decision. I think this is a pretty close one. Again, could really go either way. I think other than the Kelvin Gastelum fight, the first three fights are all, fairly close. Up the card to Tatiana Suarez versus Lupita Godinez. This is a tough one for me because I have seen some people talking about Tatiana Suarez. Is she dating Patchy Mix? Are they married or are they trained together? What's their deal? But that's not good. I'll tell you that. Patchy Mix on the fucking downfall. But Tatiana Suarez is a pure wrestler. Again, on the feet, she's literally giving you nothing. She's going to throw out all these bullshit kicks. Literally won't throw a punch. I don't even know if she's ever landed a punch in the UFC, but she's very strong, wants to control you, look for guillotines. There's no real mystery in Tatiana Suarez's game. She's going to try and come in there, take you down, and blob you. Godinez is pretty well-rounded. She's a volume striker, kind of simple combos, can wrestle off of her striking, can level change nicely, has some nasty slams. She's kind of slammed down a ton of women in this division and hasn't got finishes from them, but, they're beautiful to look at. Not the women, but the slams are definitely nice to look at. But she's got good takedown defense, can kind of make bad decisions sometimes, which keeps me away from picking her in this one. Like, she'll wrestle people when she shouldn't, like she did against Mackenzie Dern. I think Luque can kind of win rounds just by landing 30 seconds of clean striking, and then like Suarez takes her down and the judges are like, fuck that, we're just giving it to Godinez because the optics look better and she did more damage. But I don't really trust Godinez's fight IQ enough, and I just think Tatiana Suarez, I'm going to keep this as simple as possible, is just going to come in here and smudge Godinez with the grappling, with the wrestling, like she kind of does to everybody. That's just how she kind of is. She's going to come in here, she's going to blob on you, she's going to smudge you with the wrestling. And now we move into a guy I've earned a lot of respect for, and that's Gamrot, and he's taking on Esteban Ribovics. And this is a great fight for Gamrot. Gamer is back, a guy that, again, has earned a lot of my respect for stepping on short notice, coming in to fight Charles Oliveira in Brazil. And he might have gotten fucking mogged and dogged on, but he still came in there and he decided to fight Charles Oliveira in enemy territory. But I like both these guys, but I just think this is too big of a jump in competition for Esteban Ribovics. When you're looking at Gamrot, you're looking at a chain wrestler, loves his single legs, which you don't really see. A lot of people love the double leg in the UFC, but his single leg attacks are beautiful. Does all these wild, weird scrambles, can get you down with ease. Elite wrestler, not a guy who has good control whatsoever, or good ground and pound, or really like great submission game. Like you can kind of get up on him. And on the feet, I'll say this about Gamrot. He is better than people think. He's got a nice jab. He can box well off of his back foot, move around well off of his back foot. His chin it's great in the sense of like he doesn't get finished other than Charles Oliveira, but Charles didn't rock him on the feet and then jump on a sub. He seems to get rocked in every fight and just recover insanely well. That's just kind of his game. Again, his finishing ability is weird because you'd think for a guy who's such a great grappler, he would have some semblance of like some kind of a submission game. What the fuck is going on with my hair? Some kind of submission game in his bag, but like we haven't really seen that since the Jeremy Stevens fight where he subbed him. He just can't finish top guys whatsoever. Now, Esteban Ribovics, you're going to kind of get a guy who is a high volume pocket boxers, work into the body, wants to use his hands, can mix in takedowns, but he's not really, I don't expect him to do that against Gamrot. Not a dude who has a ton of power, just kind of builds damage throughout the fight and then gets the finish. The problem with Ribovics, though, is his takedown defense is very questionable. Can scramble well, but kind of struggles to stop, dudes who can chain wrestle very well. Like, he'll stop that first shot, and then I think Gamrot would just drive him to the ground. Like, can Ribovics do a good enough job not getting controlled and getting up? Like, I don't think he's, like, for everybody who glazes Esteban Ribovics, it's like, is he even that elite on the feet? Like, the Elvis Brenner fight was way closer than it should have been. And Gamrot seems to just survive everything, man. I think this is way too big of a jump in competition. I like him by brutal 29-28 unanimous decision. I think he's going to get rocked in like the second round like he always does. And then he'll like shoot a takedown and somehow win the round. That seems how it works for every single time with him. This feels very similar to the Ludovic-Klein fight where Ludovic-Klein was, I think he's a lot better than Esteban Ribovics, had better takedown defense, and Gamrot just went in there and smudged him for 3 rounds. And I think the same thing's really going to happen here. Mateusz Gamrot by dominant 29-28 unanimous decision. Just too big of a jump for Ribovics. I honestly felt like there were better lightweight prospects who could have, like, they deserved more of a jump than Ribovics. Like, his best win is what? Terrence McKinney or... Let's see, Terrence McKinney. Also, this is a dude who went to fucking war with Daniel Zellhuber. He's a Zellhuber victim. Like, I'm just pointing it out. He did go to split decision with Daniel Zellhuber, and I just can't really pick a guy who went to war with Daniel Zellhuber, you know what I mean? So I'm going to go with Mateusz Gamrot by unanimous decision. Up the card, we go to Kevin Holland versus Rude Boy Randy Brown. This is one of those weird whack fights where I don't really know who to pick. I have zero confidence picking either of these guys, but I think I'm going to take Kevin Holland. And I'll break down kind of why I like Kevin Holland and some of the things that Randy Brown does well. But I think I'm going to pick Kevin Holland simply because he's due for a win. Like, everybody seems to be out on Kevin Holland, and to a degree I am too. But something tells me he's due for a win. When you're fighting a guy like Randy Brown, you're fighting a guy who, he fights at long range, just kind of sling his punches, switch stances. He hits hard, but he can kind of overextend, leave himself open to counters. Kind of fights a little bit glass cannon-esque, like, if that makes sense. Bomb Theme really brutalized him with the calf kicks. Randy Brown, I don't think, checked one kick in that fight. He got destroyed in that one. Even Nicholas Dalby was able to drop him in that fight, even though Randy Brown, ended up winning that one. Holland, again, you really never know what kind of version of Kevin Holland is going to show up in the octagon. Sometimes he shows up motivated. Other times it's very clear this guy just wants a paycheck. But he can put a pace on guys, can use his grappling to find finishes and find submissions. He's got good power on the feet, and they're not super technical, but on the outside he does have power. It's not really good technique, can box you up in the pocket to a degree. Again, I kind of just like Kevin Holland by hurting Randy Brown and then jumping on like a Doris choke or an Anaconda choke and finding him with a submission. I think Kevin Holland's a little bit more durable, has a better chin. He's hard to finish out on the feet. And again, everybody seems to be done with Kevin Holland after losing to D-Rod and Mike Malott, which I wouldn't blame you. I don't think those are good losses by any means. But for some reason, I just think he's going to bounce back and win this one by submission in the second round. Up the card to the ole, 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 ole. Patricio Pitbull versus Aaron Pico, the Bellator matchup. Two guys who are massive names at Bellator now fighting, not on the main card, but on the prelims of a number card. It is crazy how the mighty have fallen. Now, I'll say this because I'm going to bring it up a couple times. Aaron Pico being a minus 300 favorite is absolutely insane. And I'm picking him to win this fight. But the fact that I see odds like that is absolutely insane because I don't even think Yair Rodriguez was that big of a favorite against Pitbull, and he's so much better than Aaron Pico. And you also look at Aaron Pico, the guys he's knocked out, he's literally knocked out nobodies. He's beat up on cans, and I don't even know what the level below cans is. Fucking non-existent people. If you were to click on these dudes' Tapology page, it would say error. The Chuck Norris picture would come up. These are literally random Bellator NPCs. Now, I'll say this about Aaron Pico. Can wrestle well? He's a golden boxer, man. I mean, come on, Aaron Pico. It is. I don't want to go on a golden gloves boxing. I say golden boxer. He's a golden gloves boxer. Who really cares? It's an accomplishment, I guess. But he uses his hands well. He's gonna pressure you constantly, blast combos, blast double leg. Can out wrestle a lot of guys in the division, but he really has no control whatsoever. Like, he'll get you down and then you'll get up pretty easily. He's not a dude who's just gonna hold you on the ground. Also has no chin. He's literally a glass cannon. The problem in that Lerone Murphy fight was he went full Michael Chandler in that first round. You never want to go full Michael Chandler. That's what ended up killing him. But Pitbull's kind of a guy who he'll throw one punch around. It seems like he has a cooldown after every punch that he throws, can grapple effectively. You know, he's kind of just a guy who's going to wait around the feet to find the big shot. I think either Aaron Pico is going to come in here and destroy this guy, or Pitbull finds the shot in round one. I think we're getting an early finish. Now, I could also see a world where Aaron Pico is kind of hesitant to blitz in immediately on Pitbull because he got finished so brutally in the last fight. But I think all it takes for Pitbull is like one jab could destroy Aaron Pico's chin. It could be that easy. And I'll say this also about the Lerone Murphy fight, because I think Aaron Pico was doing a nice job landing shots on him. But, you know, Murphy was still kind of trading back, still in that fight. I think some people are like, well, if the Justin Herbert kind of thing, where it's like, if Aaron Pico didn't get spinning elbow, then he would have won the fight. Like, I guess we could play that game, but it was, I honestly think Movzar would have been a better matchup for Aaron Pico, because the thing with like Movzar is you know he's shit on the feet, and Aaron Pico can grapple effectively and can stuff takedowns and is a much better wrestler than Lerone Murphy. Like, I think that would have been much more interesting. I think there was like a better chance that he would have finished Movzar than Lerone Murphy, but that's whatever. I'll say this. I think Pitbull, you know, beat Dan Ige, who's tough. I think is a little bit more proven in the UFC. But like, Aaron Pico should win this because he is the better fighter and he is younger. I'm kind of just contradicting myself by talking so much shit on Aaron Pico, but I'm still going to pick him by round 2 TKO. I kind of want to believe in him slightly more. Like, I just want him a little bit more in the mix. I truly don't care about Pitbull. And I don't want to slander Pitbull too much because he's so old and he wasn't always this boring of a fighter. So I'm just going to take the younger guy who's faster and more athletic at this point. And I kind of also vowed and never picked Pitbull again after the Danny Gay fight, even though he won that fight. It was just more like, I can't actively root for this guy to win inside of the UFC octagon, but that's whatever. So I'm taking Aaron Pico by round 2 knockout. Move it up to the main card, and this is a tough one for me. Cub Swanson versus Nate the Train Landwehr. You know, this is Cub Swanson's retirement fight, and you got a guy in Cub Swanson who's solid striker, is going to apply pressure to, has this weird right overhand that he's going to come in there and fucking land on you. Won't wrestle a ton, but has pretty good takedown defense. He seems to lose to guys who are just more technical throughout his career. You know, I don't think this is an easy fight by any means, and Cub Swanson throughout his career, you're never going to get anything easy off this guy. He's so gritty, also will like throwing a random left side head kick that's dangerous. Nate Landwehr is very fun to watch, very aggressive, is going to try and break you, is pretty durable. Like, he'll get finished, but he will eat a ton of big shots. Not a dude who's super powerful, but, you know, he has power. He's got nice combos. He'll kind of bounce in and out of range and then land more combos on you, pour it out again. He also has a win over Ludovic Klein, so I think that's somewhat significant. Like, the thing with Cub Swanson is he is so old, hasn't fought in over, what, a year and a half, and that was the Billy Quarantillo fight, right? That's the kid's name. Nate's also old as shit, but like, at least he's kind of been fairly active recently and took a round off of Morgan Charrier, who, like, people forget, man, there were some people saying Morgan Charrier was going to beat Melchizedek Costa. Not me, but I think this is a pretty close fight. Interested to see who wins. I think I'm going to take Nate Landwehr just because he has better cardio, better wrestler, slightly younger. I think this is going to be a banger of a fight, a real good scrap. You know what you're going to get here. I think this could be fight of the night. I'm going to take Nate Landwehr by round 3 TKO in this one. I would love for Cub Swanson to win and go out on his horse, but I slightly trust Landwehr just this much more. I hope Cub Swanson gets a nice retirement video also, because we've seen fucking Chiesa and Anthony Smith get like full-on movies for doing nothing in their UFC career. And Cub Swanson's one of those guys who's been around for forever, was like a legit contender, has fought everybody. He's just a fucking beast. He deserves a real retirement promo package, and I don't want to see Jelly Roll or fucking Theo Von. And Theo Von's whatever, but you know what I mean. Up the card to Dominick Reyes versus Johnny Walker. Truly the battle of who has a worse chin. That's what this matchup is. It's like whoever loses this is probably, like, Dominick Reyes is probably done if he loses this, in my opinion. I don't really know what the fuck's next for him, but this is the chinniest versus the chinnier. Someone's getting crushed in round one, and I think it's going to be Johnny Walker. I'm leaning with Dominick Reyes here. Very good counter striker. It's going to try and find that counter left on you. It's very good. You know, the weird thing was, if I was watching the John Jones fight back just to get angry at myself, like, he fought really different than he has in, you know, since then, where he was fighting a lot more on his front foot there and was able to, you know, find success against John Jones. And some of that also is kind of attributed to John Jones not having the best boxing defense or just boxing in general. So Dominick Reyes was able to, you know, win that fight. But, you know, he can also kind of stay at range and can counter kicks pretty well, get inside of you. He's a counter puncher. He's going to try and bait you into a reaction and, you know, beat you. Now, you can beat Dominick Reyes if you force him to go forward. We saw Carlos Ulberg nuke him out, or you just overwhelm him like a Jiri Prochazka. I don't really know what Johnny Walker is going to do, because he is very explosive from the jump. He'll kind of maraud at you. He's got good Muay Thai and really nice calf kicks. The Corey Anderson KO, though, kind of changed a little bit how Johnny Walker operates in the octagon. Like, he does try and be more technical and wrestle now. He looked great against Zhang Minyang in his last fight, where he used his calf kicks really well. They kind of, not a lot of people talk about this, they were really expecting him to go out there and get nuked and die. They were sending him to the fucking wolves over there in China, to the fucking, to the gulag, essentially. And he was able to pull that one out and win. Now, Walker is pretty good on the outside. He can pick you apart. He's a better kicker at range than Reyes is. And if Reyes is moving forward, Johnny Walker can find a counter. But I just feel Dominick Reyes is going to win this one. I just trust his striking a little bit more. I don't really trust Johnny Walker to game plan effectively whatsoever. So I'm going to take Dominick Reyes by round one knockout. I just think Johnny Walker is more careless. I think we're at least going to get one more vintage Reyes knockout before his career is over. I just trust him more as a cleaner striker and just smarter fighter overall. Moving up to friend of the channel, Curtis Blaydes versus Josh Hokit. Yes, Curtis Blaydes liked one of my videos on Instagram once and commented. So it's tough to pick against Curtis Blaydes. Obviously, there's bias here if you're still watching. You just have to live with it. This is one of my three guys. The guys who have commented or liked my videos on Instagram: Dustin Poirier, Curtis Blaydes, and Grant Dawson. So if any of those dudes do anything in their life, I'm riding with them for fucking forever. I almost stuttered there. Similar to Curtis Blaydes. Now, listen, I think this is just way too big of a jump for Josh Hokit. I mean, this isn't, you're not fighting fucking Denzel Freeman, Morgan Freeman, whatever the kid's name is, or Max Jimenez. You got a guy in Josh Hokit who is a good wrestler, very Colby Covington-esque with kind of the back takes and the body lock that he'll get on you. He's going to try and run forward at you, beat you up, chain wrestle, cardio mog you. He's very fast. Again, just very athletic. Not really a ton of technique in terms of kind of what he's going to give you in the striking. There's no real setups. Doesn't really have great defense. Again, he kind of has that Colby Covington style of wrestling with that back body lock. It is very nice. Now, Curtis Blaydes was kind of a pure wrestler when he first came into the UFC, and then his striking has kind of evolved since then. You know, he's got really nice calf kicks, can kind of work you with that jab. He's very well-rounded and can fall back on his, you know, pretty good wrestling game when it's needed. Now, if you're picking Josh Hokit, you're essentially banking on this guy to just run through Curtis Blaydes in the first round, because I don't think he can out-grapple Curtis Blaydes for 15 minutes. He's a worse striker. He's susceptible to getting hit. He's there to get hit. I just lean Blaydes in this one, because if you're looking at Curtis Blaydes, like, who is he lost to? Sergey Pavlovich was one very underrated all time as a heavyweight, and a guy who, you know, was fighting for the belt. Francis Ngannou, one of the best KO artists in UFC heavyweight history, and Tom Aspinall. And Derek Lewis, the fluker. Derek Lewis will just fluke KOs over you. So there's that. Now, what else did I fucking want to say? I just think if you're picking Josh Hokit, you're just banking on him to run through Curtis Blaydes immediately. Is Curtis Blaydes a little bit chinny? Yes. Did he look great against Rizvan Kuniev in his last fight? No, I'm not going to lie. He didn't look great against Rizvan Kuniev, but he was also injured in there. He's gotten the surgeries. He's gotten back. He's healthy now. I'm just picking Curtis Blaydes by round 2 TKO. Now, I don't want Josh Hokit to win whatsoever. Do I kind of like him? Yes, in terms of he does have skill as a heavyweight, but Curtis Blaydes is my fucking guy. He's winning this by round 2 TKO. He's going to catch Josh Hokit with a straight right. Maybe he gets it done in round 1. Now, moving on to the co-main event that we've all been waiting for. That's Paulo Costa versus Azamat Murzakanov. Now, I'll say this, because a lot of people are picking Murzakanov by knockout. I'm still picking him to win this fight. I kind of like him by decision here, and I'll tell you why. Paulo Costa is pretty durable, and also Azamat Murzakanov's nickname is the professional. He's fucking popped for PEDs twice. That doesn't really seem like that much of a professional. But this is going to be an entertaining fight. You know, got Murzakanov, who's small for the division. He's built like a fat, evil Volk taxi cab driver, but he is very strong. He stuffed every single one of Alexander Rakic's that freaks takedown. Had a beautiful scramble in that fight. He's a pure boxer with great fundamentals. You're not really going to see him kick a lot. He moves in and out of range. Does it and just sticks to his game plan. You know, it can also knee you if you duck in and try and dodge his shots. Now, his cardio is kind of questionable, and he's weak-ish to the body, where I think Paulo Costa can use his body kicks effectively on him. Paulo Costa is a guy who is an athletic dude. You know, you look at him like, wow, this guy's chiseled, this guy's jacked, this guy's on steroids. But he's an athletic guy who seems like he picked up kickboxing later in his life. He's like an aggressive power puncher who doesn't even have insane knockout power. He's going to rip a lot of combos to the body with the body kicks. Again, he's, very durable. The random jump to 205 is a bit odd, where, like, he looked pretty good against Roman Kopylov in a fight that I didn't think he was going to win. I figured out maybe he can stay at 185 and breathe a little bit of life into the division if he fights like an Izzy or somebody. This was before the whole Izzy Joe Pyfer thing. That's what I was thinking. And for Murzakanov, I was like, this guy should get a pretty legit name at light heavyweight. Maybe he fights an Ankalaev next or something. You know, I just didn't understand necessarily the Paulo Costa matchup, but it seems like they're kind of trying to say whoever wins this, you can really push as like a star in the division. Obviously, Costa's been around for a while, and if Murzakanov is able to get a knockout, you're like, wow, this guy's a big KO artist at light heavyweight. He's tough to fight. He's this kind of small, weird looking light heavyweight. I just don't trust Paulo Costa enough at this point in his career. You know, Murzakanov's a better boxer. I think if Costa can get this to the third, it could get interesting. But I still think I'm going to take Murzakanov by decision. And again, I just think it has to do with Paulo Costa's pretty durable. I think he can give Murzakanov problems in terms of he can rip those kicks to the body and just survive for long enough. I think Murzakanov's going to win this by, again, not round 3. Obviously, I think he could win this by knockout. It wouldn't shock me if he got like round 2 knockout. I think Costa's just going to be better at 205. I think this is a good move for his career if he could just maintain his weight and stay here. Because remember the Vettori fight, he came in overweight, right? And fighting Marvin Vettori, who gives a fuck? Again, who gives a fuck about fucking Marvin Vettori? But other than that, I like Azamat Murzakanov here by decision. Maybe he gets a round 2 TKO if you're looking for a specific round. I just think Costa's durable and is going to be better at 205 now if he's sticking to this weight class. Now, moving up to the main card, I made a full video about this, so I'm not going to try and get too repetitive on Jiri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg. But I'm going to take Jiri Prochazka here by round 3 knockout. Now, I like Jiri here for a couple reasons. You know, when you're looking at Carlos Ulberg, you're looking at a guy who is an elite level counter puncher, is going to throw a ton of calf kicks at you, has good distance management, has a good jab. I do think he has good power, but if you're looking at the dudes he's knocked out that are actual names, Alonzo Menafield, he's not even really an actual name. I was generous calling him that. And Dominick Reyes. Now, I was hyping up Dominick Reyes to beat Carlos Ulberg. I was like, he's just going to he'll out counter punch him. And Dominick Reyes, the second title run, man. This guy beat John Jones. That's what I was saying. Ultimately, it didn't happen. And then I kind of had to cope and say, that wasn't that good of a win. It was still a nice win. He was able to execute his game plan perfectly. Now, could he catch Jiri Prochazka coming in with that check left hook? Yes, but I do have confidence in Jiri to eat this shit. You know, this guy doesn't have Pereira level power. I don't hate Carlos Ulberg by any means, but I think it takes a special talent like an Alex Pereira to finish Jiri. Yuri's going to come at you with constant pressure, teeps to the body, constant movement, wild style that you can't recreate at fucking CKB. All this weird feigning game where he's faking up a high guard and then you're lunging in to fight him and then he just blasts you at something. this weird feinting style you're not really going to see there. And Jiri Prochazka can also kind of like sneak in a blast double leg and has like some submission game. Now, how funny would it be if Jiri Prochazka got a submission in this one? I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be funny. He's going to overwhelm you. He makes reads impossible. You know, Carlos Ulberg's dangerous early. I think as long as Jiri gets out of the first round in like the early stages of round 2, he's going to win this one. I trust a guy who has been in big spots before, is the better striker. I just think is the better overall fighter. And again, I just think if Ulberg isn't going to finish him early, he has no chance. You know what I mean? It's a tough fight for Carlos Ulberg. And Jiri Prochazka has shown really since the last Alex fight, he's gotten better. The head movements got him better. We saw it against Khalil and Jamal Hill. Just makes dudes confused, can scramble well. And again, the grappling, you're not really going to see much grappling in this fight. But I like Jiri here. And I think if you don't give Carlos Ulberg opportunities, you're going to beat him, like a Jan Blachowicz. And as I say that, Jiri Prochazka will probably give Carlos Ulberg opportunities. I do think this is close in the sense that like Jiri is so wild and defensively irresponsible that if Carlos Ulberg legitimately has this Pereira level power, or maybe Yuri's chin just that has deteriorated a lot, and maybe we're going to see it in this fight, like, could Carlos Ulberg knock him out? It wouldn't shock me if he got him in round 1 or round 2. But as we go on, Jiri Prochazka is going to start autism maxing, and he's going to start fucking marauding around, you know, where he's spinning around. He's like, slapping his chest, doing all this weird shit that getting in your head, confusing you, making reads tough to follow. And he's going to knock Carlos Ulberg out. Carlos Ulberg only knocks out cans. Dominick Reyes' chin at this point is pretty much the same as a shit light heavyweight that you would find off the streets. So I'm going to take Jiri Prochazka by round 3. Maybe he gets round 2 if he's fully locked in. Again, you don't really know what kind of version a fighter Jiri Prochazka is going to come into this fight with, because the Khalil fight, he looked like absolute shit. Let's be honest. He looked like absolute shit through the first 2 rounds. He looked like a wounded, drunk gazelle who had been shot in the leg multiple times. He was slipping around the octagon. Didn't even know it looked like he knew how to use his feet. It almost was like you teleported like a 10-year-old into his body. Pause. And like we're like, oh, learn how to now. It's like when you hit puberty and you're kind of learning how to use your body. That's what it looked like with Jiri Prochazka. Like he had just woken up in his body for the first time. He had no clue what was going on those first 2 rounds. It was so weird. He was eating all these wild hooks from Khalil Roundtree, and he survived. So I think the same thing's going to happen here with Ulberg. Ulberg will give him problems early with the calf kicks, bothering Jiri. But again, we've seen like Rakic and Khalil blast these calf kicks on Jiri Prochazka, and he just marauds through them. It doesn't matter. It'll definitely, you know, you'll see the visible swelling and the bruising, and Joe Rogan will be like, man, that calf's done, man. You know, Carlos Ulberg's got him right where he wants him, and it won't matter. Jiri Prochazka will keep running through. It is necessary, my brother. I don't even know what the fuck accent I did there. But he's going to beat him. He's going to find his rhythm in round 2 or round 3, get a knockout. He's going to call out Alex Pereira for some reason. It'll make no sense. I will say one little interesting wrinkle for this fight. That would be, this would fire me up. I would say Jiri Prochazka is the greatest fighter of all time if he does that. If like round 3 rolls around and you could he kind of sees Ulberg, you know, cardio going and he can't handle the pace of Jiri anymore. How awesome would it be if like Jiri just blasts a double leg, gets Carlos Ulberg to the ground and locks in a rear naked choke, takes his back, locks in a rear naked choke. That would be fucking electric. I want him to put Carlos Ulberg out cold badly, but if he took this guy down and got a rear naked choke, that would also be epic. Now, those are my predictions. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you for all the support over at Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Follow me all over there, TikTok. Again, thank you all for the support. The doctor is signing off. Let's go for that.